Welcome to another episode of the WhiteFlag Warriors Podcast. My name is Johnny McCoy. I'm your CEO and founder of the company, which is a platform where people instantly and anonymously connect with each other. And they share similar issues, struggles, life challenges, but mostly it's a safe, anonymous place for people to connect and talk about their mental health struggles and challenges, especially the ones that they can personally relate to with other people. So when you hop on our app, you can either raise your white flag and request support from our community, which is just regular folks just like you or anybody you'd meet in a peer support group across America, or you yourself can actually offer help to those people who are requesting connection. You don't have to be trained or anything. It's just like the same concept as AA and NA and all the peer support groups across America. You have in you the ability to generate and create peace with somebody else on our app just by simply being there, listening to them and having an authentic conversation. So this is the podcast that goes with the app. And what we do on this podcast is we interview extraordinary people with incredible stories, not only stories about mental health and hope, but also organizations that people have started, to kind of combat the stigma and do something against this crisis that is truly only getting worse by the day. So today we have the privilege of interviewing one of White Flag's oldest, I won't say oldest as in age, but longest running partners and an ambassador for the company is Natalie DeMasi. She's a soccer player at Temple University, amongst a bunch of other things, including the president of an organization that combats the stigma and fights for mental health. And Natalie, she's done some posts for White Flag. She's really shared her story through our social media and other outlets that we have around our company. Go and follow our social media on all channels, and you get to see more Natalie's story. But we're thrilled to have her on today. And I have not actually spent a whole lot of time talking to you, Natalie. So this is going to be great for me. I'm going to be learning about you as our listeners are.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just found out that you're an outside player on the soccer team. Does that mean you get to score goals, or what does that mean?
Yeah, so outside back has a lot to do with I'd say running and tackling. And outside forward's the fun part. So you get to cross the ball. I will say you get more shots on net, but a lot of time you're crossing the ball and assisting others. So
well, that's nice of you. That's nice. Way to sacrifice for the glory of the other ladies on the team.
Yeah.
And women's soccer's hot right now. I don't know when this episode is going to be airing, but I am all in on the Women's World Cup. My wife is Brazilian, so either way, I'm coming out a winner at this thing.
They're good.
Oh yeah. Either it's going to be USA or Brazil. In the final with the trophy standing up there. But I really like it. I really love watching women's soccer, or just soccer in general, but women's soccer, I really do enjoy it. So that's a plug there for people to tune in and watch and up the ratings and all that good stuff, because it really is it's quite the battle out there. But yeah, no, I want to talk a little bit about you as a person, not just to you as the amazing assist giver on your Temple soccer team, but you as a person. And I'm interested, because our marketing team and the people inside of our company, they really connect with you and your story and your energy and your vibe. And so, I want to make sure that's displayed here for all of our listeners. So when did your mental health journey start? I tell people my mental health journey started when I was in utero, because my dad abused my mom a little bit. I was, forming inside her belly as this anxious child. My older brother, we won't get into whether or not my brothers, there's three of us, all of us have mental health issues or not, but we all have mental health issues. Let's just go ahead and put it blunt. And most of them started before we were born. So I just learned about all this stuff a couple of years ago. So if you would ask me that question, I don't know, 5 years ago, I would have said my mental health journey started when I was 23 years old. I witnessed a suicide while in jail. So when do you think your mental health journey started, Natalie?
Okay, so for as long as I can remember, I've always struggled with overthinking, and then I'd say the typical stuff someone goes through, when you're going through puberty or just middle school. But I'd probably say middle school. Yeah, I was bullied pretty badly in middle school. Yeah, I had this one bully that just kept going at it, and I was just and she was on my soccer team too outside of school, so I just couldn't ever get rid of her.
Wow.
So that was definitely when it started. So I was very insecure growing up.
Does she know?
No, I actually wrote my college essay about her though.
Really?
And it was all of, yeah.
How far away is your college essay from where you're sitting right now? Because I want you to read it.
I wrote it and I was like, Mom, proofread it. I don't want to read it again. It was almost like a letter to her, and it was good, like though. Leaving it in the past.
So have you left it in the past? I mean, bullying is we team up with Speak Life to End Bullying and a couple other anti-bullying. I mean, bullying is a serious trauma inflictor. Serious.
I want to say I did leave it in the past, honestly. Getting through college, which we'll probably talk about this later, but the last couple months, I've never been so confident in my whole life. But I put in so much work to get to this point that I want to say I did leave it in the past. But it was all about how words matter. That was literally the title of it.
Yeah.
Which talks honestly, it really foreshadowed how I got here, because that's what really matters to me, words.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's really true. You know, my abuse growing up, the stuff that stuck with me was all verbal. You know, I mean, I endured a little bit of physical abuse as well, but the reality of the situation is the stuff that my mom said to me when she was drunk and my dad said to me when he was angry and hit, people, those things are the ones that stuck with me. And you're right, words do matter. And the funny thing is, we believe these people, when they're like, dude, you're fat, you suck, you're never going to be anything.
And they don't know anything about you. Truly.
Right. But we believe them. I always say, when it comes to alcoholic parents, my one advice is your kids believe you. No matter what you say, no matter how drunk you are, they believe what the hell you're telling them. And that's the same thing with, us and our peers, and particular bullies. We're like, well, how would they say that unless they meant it? And then you give them all this power, that there's some arbiter of what's cool and what's not. But do you mind sharing what the topic was that she picked on you about?
I don't specifically remember, but I remember there's one part, and this was my breaking point. I got these shoes, which they're actually back and trending. They're the Samba soccer shoes. Yeah. I bought them in purple, and I was so happy to have them, and I wore them to school. And then she was making fun of them, so I never wore them again. And the next week she wore them to school, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, I love those shoes so much. And I was like, I wore those last week, and you I can't curse, but you were so mean.
You can definitely curse. That's
okay.
Yeah, but I
shitted on them the whole time.
I know. Yeah, that sounds very typical of a bullying experience. It doesn't matter for those of you who are out there listening. It doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. They're gonna find something, and if your shoes are the brightest and that's what attracts the attention, that's what they're gonna go in for. But yeah, I actually did 3 episodes originally of this podcast. Was my story, and one part of it I said, I wasn't mean, and I was mean. I was hurting, and hurting people hurt people. Hurting people bully people. And I remember 3 or 4 different people that I was mean to in high school, and it haunts me. I wish I could go back to that episode and erase it and, name all the people and apologize to them. But the reality is my anxiety still, it's definitely not what it was. I mean, I'm doing great, but I still have anxious, I don't want to say thoughts, but it's a precursor to anxiety. I know if I say or do this, it will create anxiety in me, so I avoid it. And one of those things is, doing part of the 12 steps, which is where you make amends. And I just hope that the people know that I hurt along the way, that I'm really sorry, and I feel horrible about it. I have been punished immensely from the universe, and I'm sure your bully was too. And I think about those folks, and I really wish that I could physically reach out to you and say, listen, I'm sorry I picked on you or whatever. I mean, my mom was in rehab when I was in high school. My dad was totally MIA. He was gone, worrying about my mom, and I just had to worry about my little brother, and I was really hurting. So I hope you understand that girl, that young woman, how much pain she must have been, and to pick on somebody like you with your heart, just knowing you in the short period of time I do. So, but you brought up another interesting part of the process, which is writing down your trauma or your grievance or whatever it may be. So when I went to treatment, and I always tell people this, not to say how much money I have because I'm broke now, I'm a broke founder, but my treatment cost $30,000. And I say that because I want people to understand this was the best that it could get. And in that process, we had peer support, which is why I created White Flag. And we also had this process of writing letters to the people who hurt us. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. And by the time I had written my first, I was crying, like it was emotional. I got it all out, and like you, I was able to kind of close that and move on. So, I think that's a really powerful thing that you did by, making it a part of your college experience and, you utilizing that project, that paper to help your mental health. So kudos to you for that. So, all right, now we're out of high school, or are we still in high school on your journey?
Yeah, high school is when it got rough. I'd say from like high school to like now, it's been pretty rough.
Yeah.
It's just like a lot of ups and downs. Like I'd say sophomore year, I started birth control, and I think it was just the wrong medicine for me.
Yeah.
And I started it because like with soccer, I would get like really bad periods and I would like throw up and like cramps to the point where like I can't run. So I started birth control, and it was just a really high dosage, and I got like styes, like huge ones, like on my eyes, which didn't help my self-confidence. I gained like a lot of weight, and like I just wasn't feeling like my best self like with that, and it was really hard to play soccer feeling like that as well. And then I got surgery. I got surgery and all of that. So that was rough because when is surgery ever easy? And it interrupted.
The recovery always creates depression. Recovery from something like that.
And it interrupted like my soccer, and then going into junior year, it was COVID. So it was like I had a very weird high school. I went to a really big high school. Not the nicest people. I had a great group of friends. I'm so thankful for them. They're like my sisters. But it was typical Long Island high school.
Long Island.
Yeah.
Long Island.
The people next to me had like Gucci and Prada bags, and like my family is comfortable, but I wasn't carrying around like a Louis Vuitton or anything like that. So sometimes it's hard to fit in with stuff like that. And then senior year of high school was like pretty good, but I lost a lot of weight, and I struggled with, I wouldn't say I had like anorexia or anything, because I'm not going to self-diagnose myself, but I got very skinny. And that's very concerning going into college ball as well. And then I got into freshman year of college, and that it really went downhill my freshman year of college.
Yeah, and people, it's adjustment. People like my wife from Brazil, she has adjustment disorder from, swapping countries like that and culture. And it's the same thing when you go from high school to college. I mean, it's a complete adjustment. And if you are already dealing with mental health issues, even if they're underlying, they're going to be exacerbated when you get there. And so, I mean, luckily for me, my stuff didn't start until a little bit later on, when I was in law school is when it really started. But what was that like for you, your freshman year, dealing with mental health issues?
Yeah, so I started to see a therapist later my freshman year, and we really tried to digest everything that happened my freshman year. I have trouble remembering my freshman year because I tend to block stuff out when it's traumatic to me, or it's just like a really hard moment. I'm just like, I block it out. I still don't remember a lot of parts, but like I do remember I struggled with eating a lot. Binge eating was really, I wouldn't eat all day, and then like 9 p.m. would hit, and I was like, oh, I didn't eat all day, so I can just eat a lot, and it was really bad for my stomach. I ended up getting like IBS, and which like, it sounds funny, but it explains a lot of like the fog I had in my head, because when your gut's not clear, your head's not going to be clear. And so I went on medicine for that.
Trust me, I have Crohn's disease and generalized anxiety disorder and PTSD. So They all play off
brain
each other.
fog.
Yeah, the stomach, it's where it all begins. There's clear connectivity to your central nervous system.
Yeah.
I mean, I relate to a lot of what you're saying. My wife relates to a lot of what you're saying as well. She's done a couple of different blogs for us about her binge eating as well. And, like people look at people like you and my wife and they say, you don't have an eating disorder. What are you talking about? And, expecting you to be 300-400 pounds. And that's just not the case.
Yeah.
This is a condition that affects, women and men, of all body shapes and sizes. And, it doesn't matter. It doesn't discriminate. It's a chemical in your brain. So yeah, I'm sorry that you struggled with that, especially in college. I can't imagine, dealing with something like that. So what happened next?
Yeah. So I started to after like that whole thing, it was still going, but I tried to work on it a little more by like journaling and stuff like that. But I started to get these, and mind you, like I had anxiety attacks when I was little, but I never really knew what they were. And like, it would just like, I don't know, it would be on and off. It wasn't nearly as bad as this time in college. Right. So it was like spring semester and I would like wake up in the morning and I would have like, it would feel like my heart, it's coming out of my chest. And I didn't know what this was at the time. Like this never happened to me. And I would then that would start giving me panic. And then I would just have like a full blown panic attack. And I had a roommate too. So she's the best. Like she did so much for me, but she was very understanding. But I didn't tell anyone about it. She knew about it, but I didn't want to like express this to anyone because I'm like, is it just me? Like, am I just like weird? Like, am I just going through this? Because no one ever talks about this.
That's right.
So then I got to practice one day and I was doing really good in soccer this time. It was spring semester. I was playing a lot of minutes, like 90 minutes. And I started to put a lot of pressure on myself. And I was like, if I don't do good this game, I'm going to get benched, like blah, blah, blah. Like it's not my coach's fault at all. It's just like pressure I put on myself at the time. And one day in practice, I wasn't doing good in this drill. And like, you know how like college coaches are, like they yell. That's what college coach is. And
my brother's a football coach.
Yeah. So they yell, like it's just soccer. Nothing like disregards to them. So she yelled at me because I like was just like out of it and I wasn't doing, like I was just running in circles. So I like ran off the field and I had a panic attack. I had an anxiety attack in front of everyone. My trainer came over. Yeah. And I was like bent down on my knees. And I was like, I can't breathe. Like I was just freaking out. And I got a referral to go to TUL. That's our therapy at first, just student athletes at Temple.
Okay.
So I got referred there and it was basically like highly encouraged I go before I go back to practice. So not mandatory that I go, but when it says like highly encouraged, you should definitely go. So I was like, oh, like I didn't even know we had this. I would have went months ago.
Of course.
So I was like, let me go. And like they do explain all of this freshman year. And like they tell you we have this, but like I'm a freshman. I'm like, oh, I don't need that.
Yeah, it takes more than just like a flyer.
Yeah. Like I don't need that. And like I'm like, oh, so excited for season. Like I don't care about that right now.
Yeah.
So like so I never got reminded of it. But anyways, I went and I was like, this is great. Like this is really helping. And we developed like a whole plan to help me get through the spring semester. She helped me put together my morning routine, my night routine. Stuff to really help me. And then I went for a year and a half and I just recently stopped going. Nothing against therapy or anything. I just felt like I developed the routine that I needed. And
well, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Because listen, you got people listening to this thing who are just like you and me.
Yeah.
And they have no clue. They're like, routine, that helps? What the hell's a routine?
Yeah.
These folks are just like you. They're not going to talk about it to their loved ones and their family until it gets to the point where they run off the field and panic.
Yeah.
So what was it that you started doing that worked for you?
Yeah. So at this time, I didn't even tell my parents about this whole thing. They had no idea I was going to therapy. Not that they wouldn't support me or anything. It's not the easiest thing to talk to my parents about.
No. My parents hate therapy.
Yeah, so I was like, I need to just focus on me right now, not what my parents are going to think. So I was just focusing on myself. So I started to wake up in the morning, the same time every morning.
Yeah.
So I woke up at 8 a.m., practice would be at 10. So I would wake up instead of going on my phone in the morning, I'll read like 10 pages of a book, get out of bed, go to the bathroom, blah, 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 do your thing. And then I would write in my diary a lot of affirmations.
Yeah.
Because at that time, it was spring season, means a lot of running, a lot of lifting. So that's always mentally hard to get through.
Right.
I'd be like, I'm grateful to be able to run today. Sounds so corny, but like writing it down, it really helps. Because I'm like, you should, like, there's people with like ACL tears out there that won't ever play again. Like,
That's
be
great.
so happy you're running today.
That's right.
Yeah, so that helped a lot. And then I would meditate before bed. I struggled a lot with insomnia.
Yeah,
so I
me
would get
too.
I would get like 4 hours of sleep, just staring at the wall at 3 a.m.
Yeah, and then when you do sleep, it's filled with, you know, anxiety and nightmares and So was it anxiety that you were battling, depression?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what were you diagnosed with at this time, or not even diagnosed? What were you feeling at this time?
It was just a lot of anxiety.
Same.
Like a lot. Like I honestly wouldn't even say like to this day I have depression because like I honestly am a very like happy individual. I have a great family, great friends. I have a roof over my head. Like I'm a very like that's just how that's what makes me happy.
Yeah.
But the anxiety is like, oh my gosh, sometimes I'm like, shut up. Like it's so annoying.
Yeah, and it can cause depression issues when you're like like holy shit, like I can't function, I can't think. And what's interesting is how you're talking about your morning routine. So I have the worst anxiety, or I had up until I got on antipsychotics and the stigma. I had the worst anxiety anybody I ever met. And I didn't know it was anxiety. I thought everybody else was just going through the same thing. I was just a wuss and couldn't handle it. And when I started doing my therapy, they were like, let's go through your day. And it was the morning where I would wake up. I would be like incredibly intense. I mean, it was literally like coming out of the Matrix for me. When you wake up, you're like,
I completely get that. Yeah.
I was like,
especially when you just had a nightmare too.
It was not every night's nightmares for me. I've never, since I got out of treatment, I haven't had a night without night. But I would wake up and I would go, and then I would sit and while I'm like coming down from this, it would just be like a avalanche of anxious thoughts. And I'm talking about like deadly thoughts, like that everything that could quite possibly happen today. And waking up in the morning, it is going to happen, and you feel it, and you know that it's going to close in on you, and it's just going to crush you, and it's going to kill you, or you're going to die from it, or you're going to lose everything you cared about, and then what are you going to do? You're not going to be able to handle it because you're mentally ill, and you know. So I would literally wake up with my teeth chattering every morning. So I went to a ketamine doctor, and we interviewed him in a podcast previously, and he explained to me that in the morning time, your cortisol levels are spiked. And I had no idea what cortisol was or any of that stuff. See, you don't even know. So go look it up. So I love the nighttime. I'm always working at night. Like if anybody ever wants to reach me.
I love the night.
Exactly. You know why? Because your cortisol.
Yeah.
Dude, everybody with bad anxiety loves the night because it's like the time of day where we almost get to feel what other people feel 24 hours.
Yep.
So it's that morning, and that's why I was so interested to find out what you did, because I mean, I know that all the stuff you just said would have taken the teeth chattering. It would have made it probably wouldn't have like taken it away because I needed real medication.
Yeah.
But I know that it would have helped significantly, and it's because you're just trying to balance your cortisol levels out in the morning after you go through that. So that's really interesting. I'm glad that you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like stomach issue. Like we can find each other. You know, stomach issues. You know, anxiety, panic since you were a kid. Didn't know it was panic attacks for small things. You know, it's the same story. And I'm telling you, it's probably 20% of the people who are listening to this thing are like, oh my God, I have the same thing.
Yeah.
So you got your routine and you started feeling better. Were you still doing talk therapy during this time?
I was. I only very recently stopped that. So I was doing that since like the panic attack in April. So yeah, I would always do that. Some days I just go to like force myself to go, and I'd literally sit there and just be like, oh, like, okay, like I don't want to talk about this right now. But I still went. I was like, you owe it to yourself to go. Like, go. So I would always go. I don't think I've ever skipped a therapy session. But yeah, the mornings definitely. Great. Yeah.
I skip a lot. I mean, I'm PTSD. Part of it's flaking. My therapist is like, where the hell are you? I'm like, I
Yeah.
got PTSD, man. What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
That's great that you were able to go, as
Mhm.
frequently as you did. And a lot of people, think that, therapy is, forever. And for me,
No.
I don't know, because my medication's working so well, but it's for a lot of people, you just need to start your process. Just go in, you can
Mhm.
go in and check it out. But the most important thing is that you relate and that you are comfortable with your therapist, because
Yeah.
everything is about the white flag. Everything that we do is but just getting the person comfortable to start talking. So if you're not comfortable with your therapist, it's not therapy that doesn't work for you. It's that connection. So did you have a good connection with your therapist?
Yeah, so I got lucky. I actually like loved her on the first one.
That's
I
great.
also knew I wanted a girl.
Yeah.
Nothing against men, but
No, me too.
yeah,
I can't talk to men.
I knew I was just gonna talk about like boys and stuff like that, and then like she's a girl, so she gets like the drama with the girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just knew I needed a girl. And sometimes like I just get uncomfortable around men. Again, no offense, but
No, listen.
yeah.
When I got the treatment, I keep interrupting you because everything you say. When I got the treatment, they line up all of there, and they're like, "We're gonna match you with." And I got the hippie lady, like a staunch hippie. And when I got down there, I was not like, I was still anti-marijuana to some extent. Like, and they put me with there, and it was because of the aggression that my dad and my brothers showed me growing up. I always flowed to my mom. I was a mama's boy. I was sensitive. I would cry. I'm still emotional. I like poetry. And they knew it, and they put me with her. And since that, I've only had a female therapist. So there's no shame in, choosing the gender that you're most comfortable with.
Yeah.
It's all about comfort.
But I definitely recommend to people, like, if you don't like your first therapist, try different ones, because
Try again.
yeah, you don't want to go to therapy and like be uncomfortable. I was usually excited to go to therapy.
What? Good.
Yeah, I loved. No, because I would also go with like my journal, and like I don't know, you somewhat know what girls are like. You tell a girl something and it spreads around everywhere.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, just talk to my therapist about it. Like, I don't need to tell you.
Yeah. So it's a gift.
Yeah.
I mean, therapy's a blessing. People don't realize it. And once you go through a true therapy session where you get one thing off your chest that you hadn't told anybody, and that's the goal, is to start talking about stuff that you can't talk to around other people. And the reason that people are so skeptical of therapy, they're like, talking? What is that? That's not injecting anything. That's not medication. That's not even breathing. That's just talk. And it's because people don't understand consciousness.
Yeah.
And
But you're getting it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're clearing your conscious, and you're healing yourself, to some degree. But yeah. So were you ever on medication for any of these issues?
Yeah. So actually, when I got around springtime, there's like a pattern. Some like in the spring, I get really triggered. I don't know what it is, but this spring again, I was like really bad for like a week or so. But like this one night, I haven't had like suicidal thoughts for like a long time before this spring.
Right.
And like, I've always thought about it, but I've never gotten like too serious about it. And like this one night, it was like very serious. I had to like text my roommate, and I was like, please come upstairs and like take shit away from me in my room. Like, that's how serious I'm about it. My therapist called me. Thank gosh, because she's on dial all the time. Like,
wow.
She called me, she calmed me down, and I was like, okay, it's okay. Like, it's okay. I got my comfort meal. I DoorDash my favorite comfort meal.
Which is?
Qdoba burrito.
What?
Oh my gosh, it's like my comfort meal. I don't know why. I love it. Qdoba burrito. You have to get the bowls from Chipotle, burritos from Qdoba. Anyway.
I just can't with I like Chipotle a little bit though.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. At least you knew what to do, That's incredible.
Yeah. Well, I texted her because I was like freaking out, because I was like, I honestly am the kind of person, I don't like putting burden on my friends.
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to text them and freak them out like that. So I was like, let me text my therapist. So I texted her, and she called me. I wasn't going to answer because I really hate phone calls. And I was like this, like I was like having a whole anxiety attack. I couldn't talk. So she called me, and she knew I couldn't talk. So she was just calming me down. She took deep breaths with me, all of this. And then at this point, I still haven't told my parents. anything that was going on. And I was like, this is it. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, they need to know at this point because
Right.
this is getting serious. And like, I'm from New York. I go to college in PA. My insurance doesn't cover here. And like, if I'm having suicidal thoughts, like it might be time to do more than just my coping mechanisms.
Right.
Because I've been doing this for a year and a half now. And of course you're going to have bad days, but this is like serious. Like this is my whole life.
Yeah.
So I talked to them that week. I actually talked to them the week after because I got sent to the psychiatrist at Temple. I got diagnosed with bipolar. But my therapist wasn't too fond of that diagnosis after taking notes on me for the last year. That's a very serious diagnosis to go on medicine for. It's a lot of trials and stuff like that. So I wanted a second opinion. So I called my mom.
Good for you. Everybody should get a second opinion, by the way.
Yeah, everyone should get a second opinion.
On everything.
Yeah. On everything. Like, yeah.
IBS, Crohn's. I had like 30 opinions on my Crohn's.
Me too. I went to 2 doctors for my IBS. So,
yeah, that's great, though. So what did the second doctor say?
So the second doctor, I got diagnosed with OCD and anxiety. And that's my diagnosis today. I'm on sertraline.
What's sertraline?
It's a Zoloft.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is that working for you?
It's working like so well. I honestly haven't felt like myself.
That's great.
So long.
And people, there's such a stigma about medication, right?
There is. It's actually crazy.
It's worse than therapy. It's worse than anything. The medication stigma is like the craziest thing ever. But you're talking to you're looking at a soccer player for Temple who's, this wonderful person, and she's on meds and she's doing incredible. And then you're talking to a guy who was a lawyer on the Today Show and, at the height of his career, and I'm on antipsychotics. So if you guys want to know what it looks like to be on antipsychotics, this is it. No stigma. I feel amazing. I mean, literally that pill saved my life. For sure it saved my life. And had I not, but it was like the 12th thing that I was given. The first thing I was given was Xanax, and I almost died from Xanax. I've been clean. I've been off of Xanax for 5 years. I used to take 6 milligrams a day and operate no problem. That's 6 of the little blue ones. So you'd be asleep for a week, but I took 6 of them. Yeah. And I would withdraw in between each dose. And I was trying murder cases and stuff. But yeah, so I had to keep going and keep looking for, and, I just got lucky that I don't know if it's luck or I just kept swimming. I mean, it's 4 years on the wrong stuff.
You got through it. You kept going.
I mean, I got on Depakote, got myself off, and Depakote is like zombie land.
I don't know what that is.
Oh yeah, don't worry about it. It's for crisis. Like literally, like you're gonna take your life if you don't have something to just like calm you down. Mm-hmm. So that's awesome that because a lot of people, they would have stuck with that first diagnosis of bipolar, and that's the medicine I'm on. I'm on bipolar medication that worked during a generalized anxiety disorder trial. And for me, it was, last run. So I'm on Seroquel. For those of you out there who might have generalized anxiety disorder, check out the research on it because it saved my life. But so are you still on Zoloft and you love it? You're doing great?
Yeah, I'm still on Zoloft. I'm like I just started like a month or 2 ago. So I'm like slowly increasing the dosage. Yeah. Well, that's how you're supposed to do it, I'm pretty sure. So I'm only at like 25 right now, but I'm probably going to get up to 50 soon. And then, but I honestly feel great on 25. So I'm just going to sit with it for however long I need.
Not me. When my Seroquel started working, I was like, what's the max dose, brother?
Yeah.
He was like, all right. So I'm on max dose, of Seroquel. But yeah, no, it's, it's so comfortable talking to you about this because it's the same, it's standard across the board. It works. And you're looking at 2 people, with good hearts that are able to function normally because we went through the stigma and are, going to the pharmacy. That's it. That's why we're doing so well, but it takes courage, man. A lot of people don't understand how much courage it really takes. And I always say this, we lose a veteran every 20 minutes. And these are the people who, I don't know if you guys listen have ever been shot at before. I have not been shot at before, but I've seen, a dead body and it almost ruined my life. So imagine this kind of intensity. These guys run to it. They're the most courageous people ever. And before they say anything, because it's so scary, it's so stigmatized, they end their pain. They complete suicide. And for somebody like Natalie, who's navigating this whole deal without her parents, really kind of guiding the way, or even a coach kind of guiding the way, for you to say, I just want to feel better. I don't care, about the stigma. Give me my medication is, it's a testament to how strong you are. And I hope that people listen to this, they relate to you, and what if one person calls their psychiatrist and it works? That's why we do this. That's why we talk. So I really appreciate you, sharing the medical journey, because a lot of people like to talk about the medical journey, but I really appreciate you willing to talk about that. So, yeah, have you ever given like a shout out to what's the name of not the actual name of the therapist, but what's the name of the group where you got your therapy?
It's TUL. So actually, like my group works with all the clinicians. So like they're like all of our advisors for like my student group. So they help us out a lot.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well, give your therapist as many shout outs as you ever want, but it's true. You got to find somebody you're comfortable with. If it's not the first one, it'll be the third, it'll be the fifth. But once it's so worth it. It's like you get your life. That's what you're fighting for. You literally get to experience life like everybody else does. So I think that's awesome. What's Morgan's message?
Yeah, so Morgan's Message is a nonprofit organization that focuses on ending the stigma on student athlete mental health specifically. It's in honor of a former Duke lacrosse player, Morgan Rogers. She took her life, unfortunately, in 2017, I want to say. She dealt with a lot of injury, and she really had a lot of injuries throughout her college career, and that's not always the easiest thing. She was also at Duke, which is a very, very good lacrosse school.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think it was a couple of years ago, there was a softball player from Stanford or somewhere who ended her pain as well. And it created, the whole, I never knew, I had no idea. And like everybody started stepping.
It might be Katie Meyer. There was a soccer player at Stanford. She was the goalkeeper. Was that it?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that was it. I'm sorry, not softball.
Yeah. No, you're good. And that was also, it was very recently, I want to say. I don't know.
Yeah, it was within White Flag's lifetime.
I want to say that was like one of the moments though where I looked at it and I was like, I really want to do something to change this.
Yeah, and that's what it takes. Twitch, Ellen's DJ. When people like that, Naomi Judd and Robin Williams, and when you see folks like that, who take their life, they really, who are in their pain, they really are sacrificing themselves for the cause, because it does ignite it. Even though they're gone and it's tragic and it's horrible, usually it's not in vain. Usually, those of us who are walking around with severe pain underneath the rug, and then there's an incident where somebody takes their own life, and everybody says, I had no idea. It combats the stigma. It does in its own way. And so, suicide is an incredibly tragic thing, and it's something that can and does affect almost every American family at this point. And so, for you to see a peer, like the young lady at Duke or at Stanford, go through something and decide to step up and do something about it, I think that's awesome. So what is it that you do with Morgan's Message, and what is it that the nonprofit does, or the organization does?
Yeah, so I started it in April, actually.
Oh, you started it?
No, I started the chapter at Temple. So I didn't start the whole organization, but we have chapters on every campus.
That's great.
So I actually started in April when I was like really struggling, and I was like, this might be something that helps me feel better, because I just always want to help other people.
Right on.
It's just the kind of person I am. So I was like, this could really help me like wake up in the morning and just like feel immediately better, So I was like, I'm going to do this. It didn't get up and running really till September. So we meet with the clinicians at TUL come, and we have bi-weekly meetings, and we talk about stuff we can do to help end the stigma, how to get more people involved, educational topics. It's honestly really chill. We just really want to like get a group together that has the same mission and just talk freely about that stuff. We planned some dedication games. We're trying to plan something with WhiteFlag right now for
really cool
at Temple to bring you guys on campus here.
I can play goalie. That's about it.
Yeah, so stuff like that. It's honestly like a great organization. I will say social media is like one of our biggest aspects. We'll have like educational Mondays or something, or Fact Friday, where we just try to educate people on this kind of stuff.
Really cool. People who emerge from traumatic experiences and pain, you can either do one or two things. You can use it for yourself and the greater good, or you can hold it in and, do your own process. And I almost every single time that somebody tries to turn their pain into something, good or useful to other people, it helps them heal. We have a saying at WhiteFlag where we say, helping people heal helps us heal. And, that's just how you feel when you're there for somebody else. I mean, a lot of people are codependent in that they take care of people around them as opposed to themselves, to their detriment. And it's because it feels good. Taking care of other people, being there for each other, doing something, worthwhile with your pain. It really does help us heal. And I hope that people listening really do try, to take advantage of that opportunity, because you have something inside of you that's worthy of not only life, but also, that is useful to other people. And I hope that, other people listening can continue to explore that. So how did you start Morgan's Message? Meaning if there's some folks out there listening right now who are like, we don't have anything like this on my campus. So how did you do that? How'd you get involved?
So when it first started, it was like pretty small. But I saw it one day and I was like, and it said apply to be an ambassador. And I was like, let me just do it. So I applied to be an ambassador. I got accepted. It's not paid or anything. So, I just wanted to do it for, just to help other people. And then I was like, I talked to one of my friends who started a club at Temple, and I was like, so how do you like start this? Like, what do you do? And she was like, well, first like recruit board members, and then you can go on from there. And I was like, oh, okay, perfect. And I'm like a very social person. I love to be friends with like everyone. So I have friends from different teams, and I was like, I don't want to do just soccer. I did like my best friend from soccer who struggles herself. And then I was like, let's do this. I got a DM from one of the field hockey girls that were coming in. She did it at her high school. She was like, I would love to continue doing it at Temple. Wow. She was like, I already have a constitution written out and everything. Like, we can really do this. So I barely knew the girl, but I was like, okay, let's do it. Like, you seem like you know what you're doing. Got her together. I got a girl from gymnastics that I'm friends with. I reached out, or one of the rowing girls reached out to me on Instagram. Was like, I'd love to be a part of this. And she told me like some of her story. And I was like, well, you seem passionate and open about it. Exactly what we need. Yeah. So recruited her. And then I was like, we're just missing men. It's really hard to get men on this e-board. Yes. So I got a football player.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah. But then he unfortunately was transferring. So we had him for a year. We did like an ESPN Plus interview.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that played like during halftime for the AAC. So that was really awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and it also played at like Stony Brook and like other schools too, which is awesome. And then after he left, I was like, oh, really need to get searching for another guy again. Found a guy on crew. He is like the best person ever. He reaches out to everyone. He brought so much of his teammates to the meetings. And now we're adding someone from men's soccer too. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, everyone's getting really passionate about this.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. Well, so it's Natalie DeMasi, everyone listening. Hit her up if you want to start a Morgan's Message on
Yes.
campus. She's got,
I'll help
she's
out.
got, yeah, she's got, she's got the template for it, sounds like, which is awesome. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to watch a Temple soccer game. When do you guys start back up? Or
We
you're doing
actually
it now?
start on Monday. We start on
Oh,
Monday.
oh,
Yeah.
really? Well, good thing we
We've
got a
just been running.
podcast in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been running the last 2 weeks and lifting. But we start soccer on Tuesday, meetings on Monday.
Do you ever get anxiety before games or during games or anything like that?
Yeah, which is so weird because I was like always the person in high school that was like, let's go, guys. And then I got to college and it's like a whole new ball game. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm so nervous. College
There's
is just,
alumni.
yeah, college is just different because like there are the people next to you are as good as you, if not better.
Yeah.
So like if you're not on your shit that day, the person next to you is going to be on their shit. And like clearly you don't want to just get that spot away.
Right.
I will say like my first 2 years here at Temple, like I like have not been playing like my usual self. Like I shut down a lot. I talked to my coach about it. I just like, he just noticed too that like sometimes I shut down. I'm not like working as hard. I took this summer, I was on a summer team and I was like, get your shit together, get back to the outside back that you were in high school. You won state twice. Like
Nice.
you almost went to the finals. You were like playing 90 minutes. Like you're good at soccer. Like just get that in your head, get your shit together. And I'm going into this year confident. I practiced my beep test the other day. I got a 32 and I was like, you can do this.
Nice.
You're good. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And you found the right medication.
Yep. So I'm feeling good going in.
Yeah. Well, no, we'll be watching you and, supporting you as you have White Flag since pretty much the inception, of the company, which we really appreciate. When you first signed on, I mean, we probably had 1,000 people on the app. Now we have almost 100,000 on there. So, thanks for helping get the word out and helping us grow this company and all that you're doing, not only for yourself, which is, obviously the most important thing to me and to everyone is that you're doing okay and that that you found some real peace and you finally started to level off with this new medication and routine, but also all the stuff that you're doing to help out, with Morgan the Message and, being a leader on your team and sharing your story. I know we see on the comments, a lot of your friends are always like, thanks, Natalie, way to go. And so, you're a real inspiration and, we're thrilled that you're doing so well and that you're a part of this, this journey with us. And, I can't wait to see how your year unfolds, now that you've got, some of the hindrances out of your way. I think it's gonna be really cool. So good luck to you this year. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing. And it means a lot to us, means a lot to me, personally, to talk to somebody that I can relate to about anxiety, my stomach issues, the morning medication, everything. I mean, we just have so much in common. So this was a really great podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Of course.
All right. Well, we will see you next time. Everybody out there, that was Natalie DeMasi, and she is just like me. She's just like you, and we're all like each other in that we're all living and we're all struggling and we're all triumphing. And I hope that you guys learned a little bit from her today. And most importantly, the thing I want you to take away from this is a message that I give every episode, and that is you have to advocate for yourself. You just heard Natalie talking about how she was advocating for herself. She did this, she did that. Don't sit back and wait for your parents, your best friend, your coach, your principal, the mailman, whoever, to tell you, hey, this is what you should be doing if you're depressed. This is what you should be doing if you're anxious. You need to do the research. You need to talk to the people around you. You need to listen to podcasts, and you need to advocate your way out of that hole so that you can be like Natalie and myself and really enjoying life. Your teeth stop chattering and you stop, worrying about waking up in fear every day. It's just a real blessing. And I hope that you guys out there, take heed to what Natalie and I were discussing today and take that first step, start exploring ways to heal yourself because, it's up to you to do it. So thanks for the inspiration, Natalie. And for those of you guys out there, follow us on, all of our social media, WhiteFlag app, go to our website and of course, download the app in the Apple Store and on Google Play, leave us a review, comment, like the whole thing. And we really, really appreciate you guys listening. Be good to each other.